All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful week trading. As we wrap up the week today, we need to discuss two things, and that is these two stocks that had probably some of the biggest news, and they were Johnson & Johnson and Boeing. Figured I'd drop this for you guys on Friday because there's a lot to talk about, kind of even talk about where we are with the market moving forward with earnings, and so you guys could understand this and how news and some of these plays are brewing and getting ready. And then we could even talk some of the actual plays we even played on today and how to even look at some of the other stuff that happened this week. But you guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you guys are subscribed in the live streaming channel. We are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's the first link in the description. We finally hit the 30,000 subscribers on that. So shout out to all of you guys. I love y'all. Let's go. It's game time. We got earnings season on the way. It's right here. Let's go, baby. Okay, I got to. Okay. But in all seriousness, no, the two pieces of news that came out today, these are very important, and they actually have huge implications. I know we saw them all day today, but kind of even looking after hours and kind of just seeing how everything did, it explained why the market went down like it did today. It was only 0.5%. Tech led the way. A lot of the earnings run-ups and all that, we kind of gave some of that back. So even our Amazon plays coming in earnings, we gave some of the profits there. We came out pretty nice on Netflix and that, but that still dropped a pretty big amount. Some of these names, individual names, moved really, really big. And now these names, Johnson & Johnson, they moved 6%. And Boeing moved 6%. These are absolutely huge. And then the thing is, both of them are having some of their largest moves in almost the last year. I don't know if we call this the Grim Reaper, if you guys have heard me talk about that, but this is pretty much the biggest down day since this day in January or December. This is the first news. And now the news that came out here with them is that they did their own recall of baby powder out of abundance of caution, because last time with the whole cancer-causing baby powder case, that was pretty bad for them. And then this was around the drug pricing and all that. But this was a real big deal for them, and you saw what happened. But now here's the thing that caught my attention. It's not only the size of the price drop, but the size of the volume. That's really, really big. And now even I'm going to jump here to Boeing. We'll talk about their news. And even now they got some damning text messages apparently, or some other stuff that might come out. I'll go into more detail, but this has been the biggest one day down. You know, they had the earnings, they dropped and closed up good, but pretty much since the first plane crash, this is the biggest one day down. So this is kind of surprising with earnings next week. But again, take a look at the volume. This is a big amount of volume, even in the last 2 years for Boeing, and it's not as if it occurred at a low price. It occurred at one of their key levels that they do their buybacks and anything. So both of these are very meaningful, and why I think it's some of the two biggest pieces of news today that we saw. This was single-handedly responsible for the 200-point down day on the Dow. I'm sure a lot of you guys might be confused, but IBM didn't drop that much. Apple didn't drop that much. Microsoft, and you could go through all the names, but these guys dropping 6% each and being the higher-priced stocks, they were responsible for a lot of this downward motion we saw, because even banks and a lot of other companies did very good. So I think it's an interesting time to release the news. It does look volume-wise, people did exit, and that's a big amount. So one, are they going to rotate into something else? What could this mean? Or coming into earnings, we have to see. But this is kind of a hint at the Grim Reaper. But these are some of the one of the bigger one-day moves we've seen on big companies like this. So moving forward, this could create an opportunity. The Johnson & Johnson news, I believe, is important. Now, the key moving forward is how to interpret this. Again, the size and the volume is big, and that is going to have its own effect in and of itself. But now, how is it going to play out compared to last time? That's where you have to ask yourself, what's really going on in the situation, and what could this recall lead to, as opposed to, what happened here during that and the actual, getting fined and all that and getting charged. So look into that, and that's what we're going to be, I think, coming into next week. This is going to show up on the watch list. We'll have to see. And again, even as far as plays go, you have to approach it with kind of an abundance of caution. That leads to the next one with Boeing. And so we made two plays on this today, but what came out now was kind of surprising, but not really. I think it's surprising that they're coming into earnings, and I was expecting them to maybe even sell off before earnings. If you go watch through the watch list last week, we discussed that. But this was the biggest one-day decline. There was a report today that the FAA demanded that Boeing turns over internal communications that question the safety of the software linked to Ground 737. And there was even stuff with saying the pilots knew what was going on in that report pretty much. And the messages were sent in 2016, but the FAA just got them earlier this week. And it was talking about the issues with the MCAS system that caused the whole thing that made the planes crash. And then there was another report kind of stemming from it that said that this high-level test pilot admittingly lied to the FAA, or he didn't know he lied. That's what he said, what he followed up with. But the FAA now, essentially, now this is where it gets important. One, how does this develop? We've seen how it's developed, but now the FAA said that they're concerning, that these messages are concerning, and that now they're trying to determine what action is appropriate. So now this is how it could lead to a future move, because if they might make any more actions on the CEO or change anything up, or even then, in a kind of sad twist, they've settled a lawsuit related to this. So I don't know how that would affect it. They just paid out those families, and now then this news comes out after that, and that could change the whole nature of the case. Who knows what could happen there? But at the very least, the part that I think would have the biggest effect would be actions against the CEO. Now, it wasn't even like a week or two ago, if you guys remember, the CEO stepped down as chairman of the board, and they framed it in a very positive way. They said, oh, the CEO is not going to, he's relinquishing his rights as chairman so he could focus on the company and getting the 737 back and yada, yada, yada. So, and the market didn't really take that. Again, we've been stuck in this range ever since, really since the earnings and then the first investigation, and this kind of looks like that. So you even saw how it played, and now even moving forward, that's what I'm going to be looking for to see how this plays out. But as far as setting up the plays, it's going to be interesting. As far as the premium, there wasn't good plays on it, and they weren't too good. And we did a complete whiff on this play today. And even looking at the time from the stream alerts, we got the news very early. Then even 2 minutes later, even before the big drop. So you could even see it dropped and bounced in that. We even had the FAA news. I think we got that before almost anybody in there, man. That's why you guys want to be on the stream. We're live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. Here are your stream alerts. I haven't pumped that in a while, but as you see here, this is where you get your news, or it's literally just actively what's happening on stream. Better to have it and not need it, and need it not have it. But even then, on the first minute, the fact it had the volume and velocity, I was like, dude, $3 in 1 minute, it looks important. Then 2 minutes later, we found that news. And then you see 2 minutes later, I made the next play. I grabbed a daily credit spread, and this is where I whiffed it, because even then I sold the 355 call. This was in the money, and then we bought the 357. I sold it for $230, so it's literally the max risk is $20 to make $230 if it fell below 355. But then it started dropping, and then I closed it at 954, so 1254 here on this bounce. I closed it right here because I was like, I was already looking at it. I was like, well, damn, $20 we already made. I made $115, half of the max gain on it, and it was kind of bouncing around here. And how Boeing trades, you got to be careful. This is even what I was worried about here is what I'm even worried about how it's playing out here at the bigger scale. I was a little salty. I was like, dang, we should have just sold the premium on there, because it actually went to 355. We could have bought a different contract. I was even looking at the 345s at close. I don't know if you guys even, these are the ones I was even watching around at the 30 cents after the move, but they just kept going up and up. So the contracts were expensive, but they were really cheap. And now here's the point. Even though we made money on the play, what I whiffed it on, it's crazy. I made that video yesterday on the weekly daily options, and this was exactly what I was talking about as something that could move it. But now you get to see what happens when you buy a credit spread versus actually buying the contracts, and you got to know a tool. I ignored looking at the puts. I thought they were going to be too expensive. It looked important, but we couldn't really forecast the size of this. And I said, I'll take a, I wanted to get my hand in the cookie jar in a safer way. That's why I did the risk defined credit spread. But we could have easily at the time, imagine literally you see the alerts there when we got it. Look at 1209, man. Look at the minutes. Even if we got afterwards, you could have bought those for like 50 to 70 cents. Even if we went down to the 350 again, and we got the 355s at that time. If I just went one over at the same time, these were 25 cents, $25. 25 cents, $25, and they closed at 580. So it was insane. It's a good learning lesson, something to watch. And then we ended up wrapping it up. I grabbed an October 25th, like 220, 217 spread, get my hand in the cookie jar. But now this with the earnings and the IV, this is going to create some great plays for next week. So we're going to look out for that. So hopefully you guys are ready for this, but understand now both of these companies, this is going to create, in the next week or two on both of them, especially, Boeing with the earnings, but even Johnson & Johnson, these moves are very big. Pay attention. These are the first time it happens in a few years when you see, or even any time when it takes a lot of time, big volume, big price moves, equal and opposite reactions. You guys will get to see how this plays out, but it's going to create some big swings. So it could get both frustrating. There's going to be opportunities to go back and forth. So even though we missed it on the spreads, it doesn't mean, okay, abandon the spreads and start trying to buy the options. This is how you could get tossed and turned and confused. So Boeing, going through both of these, we're going to be going back and forth, but get prepared for the next few weeks. These are going to come up on the watch list. We're going to be looking at these, and again, how to set these up with earnings is going to be good. But this news is big. It's developed. It's already brought the market down. I mean, the only things left, there's trade concerns, Brexit, and then I even think the Syria-Turkey stuff. So we're going to watch how it plays out over the weekend, but even single-handedly what these two things did to the Dow and what they're going to bring about in the near future here, it's going to be something to watch out for, so I keep your guys' eyes peeled on it and get ready for the plays. I think that's pretty much it. I'll leave you guys with the weekend. I mean, here's the Robinhood. Whoa. It said we just made 700. Maybe they, oh, wow. I don't know. Maybe this is from, I think we closed around 1,100, but we'll see what happens. This is what should happen if we get the premium. The Netflix Iron Condor, even though Netflix dropped as much as it did, we were up like $500-600 on it today. It came back up, but you can see where it closed. So we're going to see how this comes into next week. But I kind of like the range so far on Netflix, just because even though it hit a low, we're literally, 275 is our break even. So it's right there with next week. So if it does get some upside, you'll see how those contracts move around. But watch that. We made the money on the other play, but watch how this all plays out. Everything that happened this week, it was a pretty good week. So watch the Netflix, everything else, even the Boeing and how we're going to move forward from here. It's all going to get interesting. It's going to be fun. So I'll leave it with that. Let me know if you guys have suggestions or you want me to cover something tomorrow. I'll be glad to do that. Stay hydrated, stay healthy, stay ready to go, and hopefully you guys learned something whether you made or lost money. We're going to get a good close to this year, so stay positive, stay in the game, and let's go!